Hello, everyone, and welcome to Storytime with Kate. This podcast is slightly different from my other podcasts, and it is focused on kindergarten teaching. How did I become a kindergarten teacher? So, today I'm going to tell you about my journey of becoming a kindergarten teacher in Australia. So, I moved to Australia from Moscow, Russia, and I had completely different qualifications. So, when I arrived, I had my diploma, which is translated and confirmed through Overseas Qualification Union, and it was Diploma of Political Science, Teacher of Political Science. So that was my specialization. So I had studied for 5 years, and in Russia it is an equivalent to bachelor degree. But because it's 5 years, it could be easily turned into a master degree. However, when you send the documents to confirm your specialization or qualification, you may expect any kind of outcome. So everything depends on the assessment and how it was done. Yes, so in my case, I received bachelor degree, which is good enough to start any postgraduate qualification. I also worked as a journalist, and as part of my journalist assessments or job, I would always write about new toys, exhibitions that were relevant to early childhood development and specifically early years. So I was very curious about toys, especially educational toys, and I would be um, pretty much an expert in some of the approaches to education, such as Vygotsky, Piaget. I did know a lot of theories, and I also had some practical experience playing with children, working with children, but more like on volunteer basis. So when my son was growing up, I would attend playgroups, Montessori, kindergartens, visit Steiner schools. So just would be pretty much well versed in this regard. So, and because I was curious and avid reader, I did read all the Montessori books and all the Steiner books, and could find all the information about most recent interesting approaches. I was also quite curious about neuroscience. So it was not a big stretch to imagine that I might enjoy working with children. So, and this starts my journey with getting all these qualifications. Yes, look at this. These are all my diplomas that I got through all these years. So let's start with the first one. And I know it looks scary, right? But this was the first certificate that I received in Australia. It is called Certificate 3 in Children's Services, so it's an old, outdated qualification. But I received it in 2009 after working in early childhood center in here in Melbourne and enjoying my work a lot. So I did this on the job. So it was an online training. So I still love Cengage Education, still work with them. I really enjoyed my course, although many of the tasks seemed a little bit difficult because of some language differences and the requirements as well, so some cultural differences too. So this certificate, I paid for this certificate because I already had education that was higher than required, and I paid for it $1,000. Yes, so this certificate cost $1,000, but I started to work as an untrained assistant, which was allowed back then. So, and then once I received qualification, I got more opportunities to work. I got a lot of relief work, and I started to work in different centers. So which made me think about my previous qualification, because I already had bachelor degree. Someone told me that the government is interested in kindergarten teachers, and that's how I enrolled myself into graduate diploma of education. So graduate diploma of education was one few years they had this program running. So graduate diploma of education, so it's fast track diploma. So it was very interesting, full time, which included a lot of units that you had to complete during the year. We also had 60 days minimum of practicum across all age group from 0 to 5. So, and I had 4 placements in different centers, and one placement was quite long. So I was placed in kindergarten, so I completed 8 subjects and graduated with ability to teach. So now in Australia, they do not have graduate certificates that give you opportunity to teach or the right to teach. So you have to do master's degree. So while I was qualified as a graduate diploma of early childhood as a bachelor, which is equivalent to bachelor degree, so I started to work at kindergarten. And any early childhood teacher and early childhood educator should do first aid certificate, yes, and should have first aid certificate that is specific, yes, so with specific number. It expires once in 3 years. So over the years, I got more than 10 of those. Yes, and also you need to do once a year update, so which is CPR update. So it's kind of certificate that we always have to update. And after teaching in early childhood settings in kindergarten, and then after having a little break, I started to teach at another kindergarten, Montessori kindergarten, and then I moved to long day care center. So when I was in long day care center, I decided to do masters. So, but eventually, so not straight away. So I started to research what can I do to complete my masters. Meanwhile, I was thinking it would be good to become a trainer. So some people who teach kindergarten, sometimes they move to another career. So it's a career that is called training and assessment. So you become trainer and assessor. And in my case, it required certificate 4 in training and assessment. So this was my first certificate 4, because they also change over time. And this was TIE 401 110. So it took me 6 months to complete this certificate. And it was a hard work because I had to do it on Saturdays. So I worked full time, and on Saturdays I would attend Mona's short courses, which was wonderful. And then complete my learner's book and assessment activities planning program, present in front of class. So the paperwork and homework involved was pretty big. So it took me probably a month to complete all the assessment tasks during my holidays between jobs, and then I started working as a kindergarten teacher in long day settings, and slowly looking for a job as a trainer. So once I found a job as a trainer, which took me 1 year, so yeah, I had all these units completed for the certificate 4, so it's a lot of work. It was very difficult, although it's just certificate 4, and I already did bachelor degree before, and I already did understand what it involves. I still found it pretty difficult to complete. So in addition to this certificate 4, they ask trainers to complete this unit, which is LLN, yeah, adult language literacy numerous skills. Why? Because a lot of students in Australia are from non-English speaking background and struggle with language literacy numeracy. It might be for different reasons: additional needs, dyslexia, cultural needs, etc. So while working as a trainer, I decided to go for further education. I'm obsessed with studying, and I completed my master's in early childhood education. So I really like Monash University. So I actually live nearby, and Monash University is one of my favorite universities as well. And masters involved few units. So in my case, I had to complete 4 units because I already had graduate diploma in education. I was exempted from 2 units, which is research and education investigation issues in global context. And I completed this over the year. It was a hard work because I was working full time as a trainer. I was working as a relief teacher for the agency, and I also worked online as a tertiary teacher. So it was very difficult to find time. So I had to do arrangements to organize some time and some childcare. So for my son, it was a little bit difficult, but once I completed it, I really changed the level of my knowledge, and I think in terms of self-paced learning, it is probably the best, and I definitely enjoyed learning in depth about music, literacy, numeracy, challenging curriculum. So I was introduced to some new approaches such as feminist and queer pedagogy, and a lot of other interesting things such as inclusion. So inclusion is very, very important. So I learned more in depth about inclusion. After that, I tried to apply for trainer's job, and I kept receiving like kind rejections because they asked, "Do you have diploma in early childhood education and care?" And I said no, but I have graduate certificate and master, which according to a ASICWA is equivalent to diploma. Uh, as long as you completed 6 units. So the rules are on a ASICWA website, which is our regulator in Australia, but they didn't accept it. They just wanted to have diploma. And I thought, because I teach diploma, I know it quite well, so I applied for RPL of diploma in early childhood, and now I have diploma, current diploma of early childhood education and care. So this is when you RPL, recognition of prior learning, they write RPL on your diploma, but this gives you an ability to teach the certificate or course diploma that you are teaching. Yeah, so I know, right? So many requirements. So finally, it's not the end. I decided, well, we had to update our certificate 4, so because 6 years passed and it was outdated. So last year I had to do certificate 4 in training and assessment just to continue working as a trainer. So it was a lot of hard work again because I had to do validation, so which is one of the difficult tasks in our profession. I also had to develop assessment tools and many other things, design learning programs. So I already was doing it on daily basis as a trainer, but because of requirements in vocational education, the requirements are pretty strict, so I had to do the updates, so as other trainers. And now a secret secret certificate that I had to do as an early childhood educator to be qualified as VIT, or Victorian Institute of Teaching teacher. I had to pass IELTS. So this is my not favorite part to talk about. Although I passed IELTS, general band, successfully to enter Australia, this is a requirement. I also studied in Monash University in English, so as you can see, for a few years. I received lots of certificates, and when I called Victorian Institute of Teaching, they still required evidence that I passed IELTS. And when I tried to provide evidence that I speak English and give references to my managers that I'm teaching in English, that I'm teaching in English young learners, involving young learners, adult learners, etc., they did not want to collaborate, so which was a little bit upsetting. So I had to pass IELTS again. So IELTS cost money. So, and this was my result, so 8, which of course is expected because I speak English and I live in this country and I try to improve my English all the time. But the hoops they make you jump is not something that I enjoy. Also, because I wasn't not an international student, but student who didn't complete year 12 at Monash, to start my graduate diploma of education, I had to pass IELTS academic again. So general is not enough, so you need to pass academic, which stops many people who are qualified from overseas to study in Australia as well and confirm their qualification or study more. So quite often they end up, even after having bachelor degrees, they end up working at diploma level because it's easier for them than passing these tests. These tests are not very difficult. You need to prepare for them. And with each test, your results improve. So for example, my first one was 7.5, the second was 8. So there is a minimum requirement of how of overall band score you should achieve. And well, I achieved the results. They were good for Monash, so and I got enrolled. This is my journey as a trainer, early childhood trainer and assessor, and kindergarten teacher. So these are all the degrees and diplomas I had to get. Now the big question is, did I need to get all of them? No. For example, diploma was definitely excessive. It is just because people do not really understand how to read regulations. For example, ICQA clearly states that bachelor and graduate diploma and masters, they are above diploma, so that's why you don't really need a diploma. But because of a lot of red tape, as I was saying, and misunderstanding of conditions, quite often people, professionals, are pushed to jump through the hoops. So tell me about your journey in transitioning, changing careers, moving from one country to another, and trying to prove that you are a professional. Thank you for listening.